start them off on the right track. And once they have a good foundation, hopefully whichever coach or whichever they join, they're set to be the best athlete that they can be.
This is a question that I ask a lot of coaches, and it kind of tells me a little bit about themselves as a coach.
Conditioning, you can start as young as you want because kids have that unlimited energy source. Every single person I work with, whether it's general population or with an athlete, I go through a needs analysis. Like, what are your goals? What sport are you doing? What energy systems are we working with? What's the main movements that you're going to be going through? What are the most common injuries? Like those are all pieces of the puzzle that I want to know and want to find the answers to. So you go all through all these pieces, you make sure that they're in the right program for it. You make sure that the program has all the correct movements and exercises, and that it's like in chess, you have to foresee the future. Like you have to foresee how your exercises are going to progress from this phase to the next phase to the next phase.
Hello and welcome back. Today we have Juan. How you doing, Juan?
What's going on, Coach Manny?
How you doing?
I'm doing great. It's been I know we've been in talks for a while and we finally got on the pod, so yeah, I can't
Yeah,
wait to chat with you.
I think you were actually the second person I ever reached out to for this podcast.
For real? Oh snap,
Yeah,
my bad.
I think no, it's all good. I think it was Beachy 2, and then I contacted you and Jack on the same day for the podcast, and then it sort of just everything just happened.
Yeah, dude, your podcast is popping off. You got so many guests, a lot of
No,
information to share, and I love it.
like I was saying to you before, like it's fun for me as well because I get to talk to people that like I like to talk to about coaching and just like different methods and all that stuff. So for me, it's learning as well.
Yeah, man. Like, I think just getting different perspectives from every single coach because we all have just different experiences is like you can't replicate that anywhere else.
It's like each other's nuances as well. Like everyone has like everyone sort of is there for the same reason to build
Mhm.
great athletes and develop them. Like we also add in our little twists and our experiences and stuff like that. To me, is amazing.
Yeah, yeah, we're all there for
So
the same purpose. We add a little bit of spice, you know.
yeah, get that salt. So tell us a little bit about yourself and how you go into this industry.
For sure, man. So, my name is Juan Mayo. My parents are straight from the Philippines, but I'm straight from Daytona Beach, Florida. I went to school at the University of Florida in hopes to be a doctor or a nurse, just like every other Filipino kid. But my passions really lie within the sports field. And so, with that being said, after I graduated with my degree in health education, I pursued a master's in kinesiology. So I wanted to learn about the body, the biomechanics of the body, in hopes to just educate the masses of the best way to move and get into the exercise science field. Um, with that said, I took an elective during my graduate classes, a strength and conditioning elective, and that's when I really like fell in love with strength and conditioning because compared to all the other facets of like exercise, so like you have your bodybuilding, strength training, powerlifting, strength and conditioning is the most fun because you get to work with sports teams, athletes, and the environment around it is just you want to be a part of it. And so I wanted to take all my knowledge of my past classes and my past educations and just move into the sports world. And strength and conditioning was the way to go. So and now
When
here
was
we are.
that? What was that moment that it sort of clicked that you wanted to come into strength and conditioning?
The moment I clicked was I took an internship at the University of Central Florida. I was a Olympic sports intern. So I got exposure with many teams at UCF. So one of the first teams I got to work with was men's soccer. I got to work with women's soccer, softball, baseball, rowing team, the track team,
Nice.
um, and men's basketball. And like that first semester there was the best time of my life because like you could just show up to the gym in gym clothes, repping your school gear, and then just working out with the athletes, having them run drills, lifting weights for them. The tough part about that was the semester right before COVID hit, so 2020.
Mm.
And so my my experiences there were like cut short. And and man, COVID just messed everything up. But like to answer your question, like just getting to the gym every day. It doesn't matter what time. Like I had to be at the gym at 6 in the morning, so like I don't really care. Like let's go to the gym, let's work out, and let's hoop, let's ball, man.
Yeah, that's the thing that I sort of found interesting, and like when I started really diving into this industry is like the work hours that we do that people don't see. It's like for me at UW, I woke up at 5, like 4 or 5. I'd be in for just like half 5, and then I'd like we'd work all the way up until like midday, and I would stay longer. I'll do a workout, and then I'd try and help out elsewhere. Like people don't quite understand how like long we spend in the gym and with these
hmm
athletes.
Yeah, there's so much preparation. There's so much preparation when it comes to our field. And that's why there's a lot of interns with a lot of hands on deck who can help the coaches prepare for what they need to get done. Because in addition to what the interns do, there's a lot of other aspects that the coaches have to deal with, such as dealing with their sport coaches, dealing with athletic trainers, dealing with the nutritionists, and programming their own workouts. And specifically with UCF, there's each coach has multiple teams to prepare for, and so
Mm.
there are long days. But when you do what you love, man, it's totally worth it.
Yeah. So, what was your sort of time like with each and then like different team?
Like the schedule of the day.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the very first team that would with the UCF, all the athletes would share a workout space.
Mm.
And so we would have the coaches would have to schedule specific time slots for each teams to come in. And then also make sure that the students are able to go to class as well. So we'd start at 6 well, interns would get there at like 5:30, prepare everything. The first lift would be at 6 a.m. Women's volleyball would come in, get a good hour lift. And then right after women's volleyball, we clean up and get the room prepared for men's
Nice.
basketball. Men's basketball would come in, they get an hour lift, and then boom, men's basketball gets out, and then the next team would come in. Um, and after men's basketball, it was, I believe, it's been a couple of years. After men's basketball, I believe it was golf. Men's golf would come in. Then after that, tennis. After that, um, there'd be like a little lunch break. Coaches would work out. I'd get a workout in. And then softball would come in, get their workout in. And then after softball, track and field would get their workout in. And after that, the last team that we work with is the women's rowing team. So women's rowing would come
Mm.
in, get a good workout. And then by that time, it's like 4 p.m. in the afternoon. And then I'd go to class.
Nice.
And
So you
yeah,
had
that was a
classes
good,
on top as well.
yeah, all my classes were in the evening. That way I have time
Yeah.
to work out with as many athletes as I can.
Yeah.
Um,
So how was that sort of split between every team coming in but sharing the same space at the same time? How do they split the coaches up?
there were three coaches that we worked with. I loved all of them. Um, there was Coach Alex Parr. He was the director of Olympic sports. Coach Joe Howard. He was the intern director um, and the assistant director of Olympic sports. Then we had Coach Caitlin. It was her first time being a strength coach because she just no, it wasn't her first time being a strength coach, but it was like her first time being like given our own team.
Mm.
And then we also had Coach Jeremy, Coach Jeremy Fraden. Um, and so those were my first coaches that I ever worked with, and um, they were awesome, and they were all educational, and really got me on the right foot of what it's like to be a strength coach. And between the four coaches, they would just separate the teams into who has the experience of who worked with which team.
Mm.
And then the coaches would work with that team. The other coaches would either be outside running conditioning drills or going to the other team's practices while some of us are in the weight room.
Yeah. What
Um,
was your biggest takeaway from that sort of experience?
my biggest takeaway was how finely tuned every single coach is when it comes to planning.
Mm.
Because there's this famous quote that everybody should know is that um, failing to plan is like preparing to fail.
Yeah.
And so when there's no plan of action beforehand, like things are gonna go down the drain. But when you're ready, you planned out the day, you planned out the week, you talked with your other coaches, communicated with them, then you guys are set for success. And so every day, just it's smooth transition one team to the next team to the next team, and yeah.
Yeah, that's actually something that it really clicked into me at UW when we would set out the workout the day before for that
Mhm.
team coming in on the 6 a.m. or 7 a.m. workout. Everything was already laid out, everything was just done, and it's just a case of going.
Yeah, yeah, man, and like that planning comes with from the coaches. Like
Mm.
they set everything up for us. They put us in a position to succeed, and we just got to follow the plan.
100%. That was actually something I wanted to speak to you about. While you were at UW, Jack, obviously knew Jack prior to him going across, so I would like keep up with his stories. And there was one day, I think he went out on the lake or something, and he like posted a quote from you.
For me,
Yeah,
let me see.
I can't. I'll try and get it up. See if I can find it. Um,
I said so many things during our time in UW, man.
so this is the thing that I've been sort of finding out more about is like each coach that I've spoke to has these very specific quotes that they live by. And for me, so for me, I've got two main ones. It's
Okay.
shy boys don't get sweets.
Oh,
That
okay.
just means you have to grab every opportunity by the balls and just go with it. And another one is fail to prepare, prepare to fail.
Yeah,
There's actually
yeah, man.
one more that my coach used to say to me, and this was like in terms of any type of practice that we did. And it's practice doesn't make perfect. Perfect practice makes perfect.
Hmm.
So
100%.
it's that intent behind your training that's most valuable. You can practice all you want. If it's
Hmm.
not perfected to what you want it to do, you're
Hmm.
not going to go very far.
Yeah, that's one of the things the UCF coaches were telling their athletes were don't just go through the motions. Really, really put yourself in the position where you're trying your hardest, giving 110% effort every time.
Mm. I'm still trying to find this video. I will find it because it was something that it was quite inspirational at the time, and I was like, "That's actually pretty sick."
Was it during our hike to the lake up the mountain, or was it at
I,
the on the boat at Lake Washington?
I think I saw a body of water. I can't remember exactly what it was about.
I just know. So, did you go hiking when you were up in Washington?
No, I didn't, and I'm
Yeah.
actually quite
So,
upset.
yeah. Oh, dude, we got to go. When you come back to the States, we're going. Let me know.
Actually, I was more upset that you had a boat.
Dude, we were so lucky that Natalie was in our cohort
Yeah,
because she hooked us up. She gave us the tour. She was just the mom of the group, and she was like, "My dad has a boat. Let's go." And I was like, "A boat? Let's go!" But yeah. So one of the things I was telling them was, "Oh, I've been on hikes before, but the thing is, Florida is below sea level, so
Mm.
the elevation change from Florida up to Washington and Seattle, total game changer, dude. I was a straight up baby. I could not hike up that mountain, dude.
Florida's quite flat, isn't it?
Yeah, it's flat.
Yeah.
Um, and when we go on hikes, it's just like everyone in Washington called it a stroll in the park. Um, but but we got the beaches, man. It's a beautiful place in Florida. Right now it's around 80 degrees outside,
Ooh.
and
In
yeah, man.
Scotland, it's raining and it's miserable. So, so what is it that you're doing currently, and how did you sort of find going from UW to what you're doing just now?
Yeah, currently I'm a personal trainer at a commercial gym here in Orlando, Florida. I'm working with the general population, just again educating the masses because my main goal is to just to be a teacher and educator in the field of exercise science. Um, I teach people how to move correctly, like we talked about perfect
Mm,
practice. And my hopes is to uh, move from the general population to a sports team just because you I love sports, man. Like you can't beat
mm,
being a part of a team, working with them, helping them grow and develop into the correct athletes and watching them put their product onto the field and just try and win games. And saying that, hey, we did this together, we worked on this together, and now we're on the team battling. And
yeah,
so yeah, that's what I'm doing right now. I'm working with the general population, hoping to move into a sports team in the near
sport.
future.
That's actually something that's quite interesting. Is that difference between general population and then athletes? Me and
Hmm.
Natalie kind of spoke about it, and it's like the general population. There's nothing that they they obviously have their goals and their objectives, but it's not like that workout makes a difference to whatever they want to do at the end of that day. So like if they walk out that gym, their normal life continues.
Hmm.
For an athlete, they finish that workout and they have to think about, damn, I need nutrition to fuel myself for the next workout.
Hmm.
And I need to prepare so I can have a great season.
Hmm.
What are some of the differences that you found between going from athletes to Gen Pop?
The main differences is the intent and like drive behind each person because half of the time when I'm working with the general population, they came straight from work or they're going to go to work after the workout. And so they're here to be healthy, be moving and just have that motivation, that accountability that us trainers provide for them. Um, and half the time they need that push and that
Mm,
little like
drive.
that little drive that athletes have. And so that I think the big difference is when athletes come to the gym. I mean, granted, most of the time the athletes just want to play football or they just want to play basketball, and they're like, I don't want to be in the gym. But when they do work out, and you see it with the football players up in Washington, when they do work out, they give it their all.
Mm,
Um, they don't just go through the motions. Um, they they challenge each other, they push each other, and I think that's the biggest difference, that drive behind each person moving and working out between general population and the athlete.
yeah.
Also, just another thing with the general population, you got to really start from the basics. So like part two of T for my answer to your question is with general population, like half of the time we're starting building foundations and we're progressing, but not progressing like
Hmm.
as much as I would an athlete. Like we'll just make little adjustments every day to get them closer to their goal. and it works for them. But with athletes, we got to progress them. You got to do some sort of progressive overload or some sort of change or alternative to their workout that just um, that can help them in their program. And
Yeah,
so I think that's another big difference.
I've recently been working with a lot more general population. I've still got my athletes and stuff, but what I'm finding out is that, well, to be fair, this is it's known, but it's not really thought about that much. But like, no one ever teaches you how to move. You're sort
Hmm.
of just you go about life doing movements that you think are necessary, but no one actually
Hmm.
tells you like a to walk. No one ever, no one's ever taught me how to walk. I've just walked.
Yeah,
But like having that proper gait when you're walking, proper gait when you're running, like
yeah,
that can have a big impact on your daily life. So why don't we look
100%.
at these like movements that everyone takes for granted?
Hmm.
So for me as well as like any type of twisting and bending and hinging, for me
Hmm.
that's super fascinating right now. What is it that you're sort of implementing in the gym, and what is it? What kind of principles are you having with the general population that you have?
I like to treat all my clients as athletes because the way athletes move, I think, is probably one of the healthiest things that a, an, an average individual can do. In terms of what I teach my clients is just the simple basic movement patterns. So we teach them a squat, a lunge, a hinge, a push, a pull, and to strengthen their core. If you could do those six movements, well, core is like an anti-movement, but still. So you do um, those movement patterns. Like I said, you teach them how to squat, teach them how to lunge, you teach them how to hinge. Their lower body's going to be strong for whatever they're doing in their daily activity. You teach them how to push, you teach them how to pull. Their upper body's going to be ready for whatever they have to do in life, and then you give them a good strong core, and that just connects everything together. And so whenever I program for just the general population, I always incorporate that into their programs.
Yeah. So I know I've had some. What are some of the sort of nightmares that you've had programming for general population?
Nightmares. Well, the first nightmare is basically them showing up because there's been a lot of mornings where I get up for a 5:30 6 a.m. client and then they sleep in or they don't show up or they give me a text like, "Hey, I just woke up," and I'm like, "Yo, we were supposed to work out 30 minutes ago."
It's just
But
last minute messages like, oh,
yeah, I know, right? And like with athletes, they got to be there. Like if they don't show up during practice, dude, it's game over. Like coach is gonna get on their behind about them not showing up to lift, and um, so you know for sure that your athletes are gonna show up in the gym.
actually
In terms of
something that. Sorry,
yeah, yeah.
no,
Well,
no, you're
I was
good.
gonna continue on. In terms of nightmares for programming, is basically whenever I am working with a certain client and they have a specific goal, I make a program for them that I know for a fact is going to get them to their goal if they follow the program. My nightmare is when they come in and they do it and they're like, I want to try something new, or I saw this on TikTok. Can we do this instead? Or this exercise like hurts. Can we do something else? And I'm like, I put my time and effort into your program and now you want to change it. But I mean, the customer is always right. So I end up changing it and making sure that they get what they want. But we're still like getting to their goal. So yeah.
Yeah, something that we were talking about at the beginning is how important it is to have general population as well, because you see so many individuals. Like for athletes, they kind of just do whatever they're told, and that's
Hmm.
it. But with general population, you actually get to learn some of these nuances to strength training, like what you can and can't push all that much, depending on the person.
Hmm. Yeah, man. Like I so the thing with the way I work with my clients is I always like to experiment. I hope you're not listening, but they but I take strength and conditioning aspects. I take the new sciences, the new research that comes out. and I like to apply it to to my clients. So like for example, I took triphasic um, and applied it to my clients, and if it worked, it worked. If they didn't like it, I changed it. But I was like, oh, it's working. It actually does something. Um, and I do some other progressive overloads. Do some other like unilateral movements with my clients. I'm like, oh, it's working for them. So if it works for them, then we can definitely apply it to like a football team or a basketball team.
Mm.
And so yeah, I just like using them as like my practice.
Yeah, that's like because there's at the end of the day, they're still getting a workout, regardless of
Hmm.
what we try out. But they're actually a really good population to start with because they've always got that newbie gains.
Hmm.
So it's always good to try on them because, like, if it works, then good. There's actually some
Hmm.
solid methods into what's happening. Um,
Hmm.
but speaking on triphasic methods, I've actually been rereading the textbook.
Yeah.
Like that's super interesting to me because like it breaks down why that amount of stress is important for both
Hmm.
isometric movement, concentric, and eccentric movements.
Hmm.
Because like if your muscle's strong in all three phases, then you've got like that solid protection around you to deal with any type of stress that may come from your sport, from your daily life. What's your biggest sort of takeaway from triphasic?
I like the progressions every 2 weeks. And like you said, you get to work with each phase at a good pace. And so you get 2 weeks to work with the eccentric portion. You get 2 weeks to work with the isometric portion. You get 2 weeks to work with the concentric portion. And luckily for us, the coaches at UW gave us the PDF for the book. And so again, a lot of knowledge that they're sharing with us, and so being able to apply it is awesome. And like I said, the just having the time, the 2 weeks to really just focus on eccentric work
Mm.
is just like a game changer. And then after that, 2 weeks to work with isometrics. And then because what you typically see with most individuals with a low training age is that they're just oof, oof, moving
Mm.
up and down. And like there's no control, there's no perfect practice there. And like this is where you can really set the foundation of the movement and just create that solid base and foundation that we want.
There's a coach that I know from Scotland. His name's Rob Anderson. Big shout out to him. He's also got a really good podcast. I'll link it in the description or something, and I'll send you it.
Yeah,
But
that'd be dope.
he essentially has these three rules to build up any. It's sort of injury prevention. So he's got this isometric coming out of isometric and then ballistic. So essentially, what he does is he the example I he showed me was for rotator cuffs. So in rugby, rotator cuffs are a big injury point. So what he does is like he starts on isometric movement pushing, and then he'll do some like coming out of isometrics where you hold or you push against resistance, and then you do ballistics. So against a Swiss ball or something, and you just go ham on it and just like beat it up. Because then
Well,
the way he explained it was essentially that if you can hold it isometrically, then it builds that foundational strength. If you do sort
hmm.
of coming out of isometric, it builds that strength into movement based strength. And then ballistically, because you've got those fast twitching muscle fibers going, you can essentially be hyper, like in a hyper extended state, but still be strong because of that brutality that you've introduced to it at
Oh,
that pace. And that to me, I was just like, that makes sense. Um,
that makes a lot of sense, especially when you said it was for injury prevention
yeah. So this
or
is the
just lowering the
case.
risk of injury.
I mean, it was yeah to prevent it from happening, but it also
Hmm.
works to strengthen that area as well because you're still going through that loading phase of the muscles.
That's really cool. I gotta check that out.
Yeah, he's super smart. He mostly does um youth and bringing up the youth, but like his way of thinking is just very unique. And like I learned a lot from a couple days of seeing him in the gym.
Hmm. Yeah, that's cool. That's actually what I want to do in my next chapter is really work with the youth. So another thing that I do outside of just training general population is I help with strength and conditioning for basketball players. So I work with Coach Kenan Gassman. He's a he's a basketball skills trainer, and his company's called Gassman Training. I also help Coach Brandon Dean. He's the director for SoFlo Select, which is a very popular travel basketball team down in South Florida. And he has many teams that he works with, over 20 teams with um, players ranging from the ages of 5 to 6 all the way up to 17, 18. And
Mm.
so that's where I could really thrive is just helping out these players um, with the strength and conditioning side of basketball. And so one thing I want to do is just really move into the youth sports because that's where we can really develop athletes from a young age, start them off on the right track, and once they have a good foundation, hopefully whichever coach or whichever team they join, they're set to be the best athlete that they can be.
This is a question that I ask a lot of coaches, and it kind of tells me a little bit about themselves as a coach.
Hit
How
me.
young or how old do you think would be the ideal age to start someone strength and conditioning training?
Ooh, that's a good question. Conditioning you could start as young as you want because kids have that unlimited energy source, man. They'd run around everywhere, assuming that they listen to your directions.
Mm,
So for conditioning, they you can start them off as young as like 5 or 6. In terms of strength, like lifting weights and all that, I want to say, just in my opinion, you could start them off the same age, 5 or 6. Again, just taking basic movement patterns, just teaching them how to squat, hinge, lunge, push, pull. Like I don't, there's no, I don't think there's an age limit where that's when they have to train,
mm.
because they have so much growth and development during those younger years that if you are able to guide them in the right direction, um, assuming that they listen because they're kids. But
That is the hardest
for,
part.
yeah, that's the hardest part. But if you guide them in the right direction, you can really mold them to be moving properly. And then by the time they start their recreational days, around like what 8, 9, 10 years old, they'll be they'll they'll be looking pretty good compared to all the other 8, 9, 10 year olds playing in whatever sport that they're playing in. Um, so yeah, my answer is like 5 to 6, and then just go from there.
Yeah, I agree. So this question actually came about from one of my lecturers. He's actually a great guy. I love him to pieces. But we during class, he said that you shouldn't really start kids strength and conditioning training until they're like 13 to 16. And I was
Really?
like, yeah. And I was like, I disagree. I think you should start maybe like 9 or younger. And he was like, no, but if you think about it, children can't deal with the loads and just the amount of pressure of being underweight. And I was like, but you don't have to use weights. Like,
Yeah,
if you think
yeah.
about like a kid's daily life, how many times are they jumping? Or how many times are they
Hmm.
jumping down from a tree? Like, that's
I'm
still,
entering.
there we go. Like, that's still that contact with the floor. That's still, they're having to lift their body up to get up into these trees. They're still having to use their muscles to get to
Hmm.
places. So resistance training actually starts as a baby. Like if you
Yeah,
think
and
about
like
tummy time, Like kids are just trying to do this. They're just
Yeah.
neck extension flexion, and then they
Hmm.
start laterally, and then they'll
Yeah.
control their heads. Like the head's one of the heaviest parts of the body.
Yeah. Yeah. And then when they're learning how to walk, they're they're up on their feet, just learning how to balance
They're squatting.
bilaterally and just, yeah, squatting, finding that balance again. Like you can start them off at any age, and we're not gonna give them an Olympic bar. That's
Exactly.
like
Like
we're
dowels
smarter than
work just as well.
like
No,
there's weights that mhm, that are I've seen those like videos on YouTube and TikTok where there's like a little kid clean and jerking like a little
mm,
toy bar, and like I'm definitely gonna get my future kids that.
to be fair, I've seen some kids like 9 to 10 years old snatching perfectly.
Yeah,
I'm just like, how?
yeah, I
How?
believe it, man.
So with
That's that
so
environment guidance, man.
exactly, I think that's what is the most important. And something to, like touching on something that you said was that the earlier the kids start, the more efficient you can make their movement. And then it goes back to that thing that I was saying where you're teaching people how to move efficiently. And they're not
Hmm.
having to grow up not knowing how to walk, not knowing how to move efficiently. I think
Hmm.
starting as early as possible help again with the right coach.
Hmm.
With the right coach. It's just important for people to learn movement efficiency and just get through. And that's a lot of what Rob does actually, is he has these specific tests to build his athletes and they can only progress to the next stage of his program if they've like hit specific requirements. Until they hit those requirements, they just stay there. If they hit them, they move up. Hit them, move
Hmm.
up to the next stage. I think that that's a really good way of doing it as well.
Yeah, I mean, I agree 100%.
I really need to get him on. He is dope. Like he is amazing.
Hey, we'll get him on. Don't worry.
To
You're the PA Chaco's blowing up, man.
be fair, that message that you sent me before the podcast, I was howling. I was like, yeah. No, what's what's sort of like some of the things that you're hoping to get with coaching and teaching youth?
Um, again, it comes with the sports field, that that team group, that group
Camaraderie.
camaraderie, yeah. And just being able to educate. So those two aspects, I love being a teacher. I love educating people, of course. Um, I have to study and make sure that I'm teaching them the right stuff. And then specifically with the youth, just seeing them grow and develop, making sure that they're getting to where they need to be and putting them in their places to succeed is what I hope to get from teaching the youth and coaching the youth. Um,
Yeah, but you so I've kind of saw your Instagram quite a lot, and you're a big baller. Like you love basketball.
yeah.
What's your sort of relationship with basketball, and how have you sort of progressed that with S&C?
The basketball is in the Filipino blood, man. Everyone from the Philippines loves basketball. And it's kind of crazy because like our average height is like 5 foot. So um but I've been playing basketball from a young age. Um and I've been playing the sport for like every single every single week of my life. Um, so, and when it comes to strength and conditioning, what I really see the benefits of that strength and conditioning to basketball is the um, just the decreasing the likelihood of injury. What
Mm,
stunted me was back in 2013, I tore my meniscus playing basketball. No contact, no one around me. I went up for a layup, and then my knees just went in and just like something clicked in my knee, tore my meniscus, and then I couldn't play basketball for a long time. Um, and granted, since I was in school, I didn't opt for surgery because I wanted to stay in school, stay with my buddies. Um, so with that said, if I had a decent strength program prior
Mm.
to that injury and during that injury, I could probably could have prevented that from happening. And so what I really want to do is just take strength and conditioning, move it to the basketball world, and help uh, athletes just be available. Because being available is probably the best ability you can provide for your team.
Yeah. So, what are some of the things that you've added now to your program to sort of help prevent any further injuries?
I love isometrics. They really help build tension within the joints, within the muscles. Unilateral work is a great aspect to really focus on specifically just because whenever we're jumping, running, making cuts and all that on the court, you're you're putting a lot of impact onto those joints. Um,
Mm.
so having those two aspects is something that I really focus on whenever I work with athletes. And the conditioning aspect, because the athletes who are conditioned have the best net outcome for their teams. So a team that's not conditioned is not gonna provide you what you want on the court, which is something that I really found um, when working with Coach Mack at UW, is that they
Mm.
condition a lot, man. They condition those athletes to the max, and so when you can do that to your sport, the team who's the most conditioned and the most ready to take that battle to the very end of the final seconds of the game, those teams are gonna be ready.
This is something that I always say is like the season's won in preseason, which means like
Hmm.
the team who's most efficiently worked on their conditioning is the one that's going to outlast every team. Like the thing with
100%.
UW is like they work conditioning even in their strength training, even in their power
Yeah,
training. Like they're doing what quad sets, 5 tiers of them, and
yeah,
like that's just like that's conditioning. Like we in my cohort, we done the workout every single time straight after them or just before them, so
yeah,
we knew what they were doing. And like I would walk out drenched. I was like, "Damn, like this isn't easy." And then we'd go out and do the conditioning side, like those
yeah,
stairs, like the stair drill,
yeah.
not easy.
Hey man, it's a lot easier to watch.
Mm.
When you're watching it, it's like, oh, I could do that. It's not too bad. But like, those are some Division 1 athletes, man. They're ready. They're ready for battle, and not the average person can do any of those conditioning drills that they do.
It's a mentality as well. That's what I found going from like the UK to America is like the team mentality and the team dynamics is completely different. Like,
Really.
yeah, what would be the main differences that you would say between your general population and sort of the the athletes at UW?
The condition, their energy levels, what they're how much effort they're giving.
Yeah, so for me, I was just like I'd worked with athletes here, but like it's very different. Like the athletes, like they obviously knew what they were doing and they were there for a reason, but there wasn't the same like hype. Like everything was taken up 5 notches up. I was
Really.
like,
Oh,
damn.
that's
Like my
that's
first
crazy,
workout
man.
with UW was freshman. Like the first and second,
Mhm.
like the introduction, and I was like, damn, this is intense. Like everyone was shouting, everyone was like, let's go. I was like, yes.
Yeah, man,
What was
the energy in the gym, especially at UW, is unmatched, man. I've never seen anything like it.
what was the difference between your college and UW in terms of programming and sort of the way of
Y-
coaching and the
Yo,
athletes
the
being?
I don't know what it is, but Coach Mac's culture in the gym is different. I know they're both Division 1 schools. I love both teams. You know, I went to school at UCF, go Knights. And but like whatever Coach Mac does in that room, whatever buy-in he created with those athletes, like that energy level, just bam, just another level higher. And like, look, they're ranked number 5 in the nation for a reason.
Yeah,
The
no,
that culture for that team is unmatched, and I don't know what it is, but it's just a different level in there, man.
yeah, I think it's early buy-in, and I think because when I was there, I studied Coach Mark a lot. Like I would just watch what he was doing. I wasn't really
Oh
like
yeah,
obviously like I was in the workout and I did everything that we had to do, but I watched them as well. Like I'd watch him from the day like the moment he walked in to the time he left. Like I would just sit and watch. And I think
yeah,
at the very start, he like with recruits, like when people are in for like just chatting with the team and all that stuff,
hmm,
like he takes them into their office and he just has a chat with them. Like
hmm,
he just chats. And like what I've came to find out is that he actually talks about what their goals are and what they hope to achieve in the future. Even if they don't come to the school, what do they want to achieve? And he will actually use that to motivate them. So the
yeah,
Parker twins, this is when I caught on to what he did. So the Parker twins were freshmen when I was there. So during one of the workouts, they were tired. Like the workouts aren't easy. They were tired. They were like struggling with it. But Coach Mark was like, "You told me you wanted to get to the next level. This is where the next level happens. Like this is what you told me you wanted to do." And like I saw that, and I was like, "Damn, like
yeah.
this is it." So like he was
Coach
sort of
Mac,
like,
yeah, Coach Mac is his presence is mighty, man. Like there's an aura around him where he just elevates people to the next level. And
yeah,
like you said, he's like um he does this for everyone else, not just for himself, not just for the Division 1 players. He did this for us as well, because whenever he spoke to us before we left, he asked us like, "What are your goals? What do you want to do?"
mhm.
And I was like, "I want to be a strength coach, Coach Mac." And he's like, "All right, prove it to me." And I was like, "All right, man, let's do it."
This is actually something that I love. Is those exit interviews. I like to find out what he suggested to people.
Yeah,
What was it? What was that interview like for you?
it it was it was awesome because he's the head guy, right? And he meets us at our level and he connects with us and he just makes us feel welcomed. And I love Coach Mack about that. And what he told me was to pursue pursue more schooling. He told me to go pursue a PhD, and I was like, "Whoa, that's crazy." And he said, "If you want to make it in the field, you got to prove to me you can make it in the field." And so, like, go pursue a PhD. Even go and while you're doing that, be a GA.
Hmm.
And do that while you're pursuing further education. Go work with other teams. Go see how being a strength coach in the baseball field is. Go see how being a strength coach in the soccer on the soccer team is, and just prove to me that you really want this. Um, and I said, all right, let's do it. And
Yeah,
so that's
he's
what I'm
actually
trying to
the
do.
reason. He's the reason I started this podcast. Is that he was
Yeah,
like, I kind of want you to like do your own podcast and just run with it. I was like,
yeah,
what? And I was like, but it's that confidence that he instills in people. It's like
yeah.
he he sees something that you can't see about yourself. And
Hmm.
like to me, I was like, like a podcast, I'm having to be on camera. I'm having to speak to people. Like I don't know if I'm ready for this. Like it took me a year to get here, but like
Yeah.
This has been one of the best things that I've done. And like he already knew that. And I was like, damn,
Mhm.
like how can you like how can you know this just by like spending a couple weeks with me?
Yeah. Yeah, man, he's such a knowledgeable guy, and I love that he instills confidence in every single person that he works with. Um, and like if there's any like interns or future interns listening to this, like you got to work with Coach Mac.
Mm,
There's no other person to work that'll help you um and get into the strength and conditioning field and guide you the way that he does it.
100%.
And so
It's as
yeah.
well as like the connections that you build from it. It's like
Hmm.
everyone that's been on this podcast, apart from two people, has been like with me with UW or like has been at UW at some point or has
Hmm.
connections to someone at UW.
Yeah. Yeah, man, dude, this podcast is amazing. Like
Actually,
your first one.
go, yeah, yeah, go.
Hey, no, your first one though with Beat You, dude, that was awesome. And it's the
I love
first,
teaching.
typically the first like podcasts or first videos are like um aren't the most like put together, but like it was awesome like seeing your experiences and I'm like, oh my gosh, I had the same experiences or I had the same like uh, concepts or topics that you guys were dealing with, and like I can relate to it totally. And so just seeing everyone who's worked at UW and then you talking about them is just is awesome.
No, like so it was kind of planned this way. Like my first episode, I wanted it to be with someone that I was very comfortable talking to because I knew
Yeah,
that. To be fair, looking back at it now, like that episode to me could have been a lot better. I could have been a lot better in it,
yeah,
but like, but I wanted to in it because me and him just like chat normally, anyways. Like we'll phone each other
uh-huh,
at some points and we'll just like spend hours speaking just about
yeah,
random stuff. But like I kind of wanted him on because it was already comfortable. Like we speak about everything, anyways.
yeah.
So I was just like, Petrie, he's fine. Like we can get
Dude,
good first podcast at least.
yeah, you guys are just like a bunch of buddies just talking on the pod, like you can't go wrong with it. And also, dude, shout
No,
out to his Instagram. His Instagram
dope,
is amazing, dude. Like
amazing.
he needs to pop off like
He
tonight.
does, and like this is like it's gone so much better. Like he was like the thing he's just made it his own now, and like that's what I love. Like that, like
Mhm.
what you see on Instagram is what I got at UW like the whole time. Like me and him would just like that's what we would do. It was just
Yeah,
like we'd go out to eat, we'd work out, and then we'd just chat about like programming and how like we go about it.
yeah.
Like he's big into French contrast,
Okay.
and he was like the way he explained it, I was just like, that's amazing. Like he's really done
Mhm.
his research on it. And just like his mentality towards learning as well. Like that's what me and him connected on. But in saying that, I kind of know that you and Jack are trying to cook up something. When when can we look forward to that?
Dude, so I had the same experiences with Jack. So Jack was one of the first peoples I met when we went to Seattle and like we kicked it off like right from the start and same thing. We would work out together, we'd go out, grab a cup of coffee, go places, go eat and just chat about like strength and conditioning. Like he would tell me about the times of when he was training back in the UK. He told me all of um his stories of what it's like to transition from the UK over to Seattle, and the differences between America and the UK and all that. Um, and oh, dude, one thing I wish he talked about during your podcast was his analogies, because he taught me a good handful of analogies in terms of lifting, working with your clients, and just different programming analogies. And I was waiting for him to talk about that, but he didn't. And I was like, oh man, he's saving some of his information.
What can you remember some of them?
One of them, I don't want to butcher it. but one of them was his sword. He talks about like a samurai sword. You gotta ask him about his samurai sword analogy. And
I
then
mean,
another,
I want to speak to everyone again, so I'll ask him about the next time.
yeah, yeah. And then you gotta talk to him about his ceiling and floor analogy when it comes to working with programming, like ceiling and the floor, and like I don't know, I forgot what he said, but I'm not gonna butcher it and talk about it right now. You gotta ask Jack. But yeah, so we had many talks during our times, and that's one of the things I love about this internship was that like we made these connections with these people that I would never have thought I'd be friends with, and like this guy's all the way across the pond. Um, and now he's pursuing his master's and going back to school, and like I'm proud of him for doing that. And one of the things we talked about was starting our own podcast. Not to
Nice.
take anything away from the pay chalk up because
Hey,
you're trailblazing right
I
now. So
I would jump on in a heartbeat.
yeah, we'll get you on. But we just want to get on the mic and just talk about whatever experiences we have, just educate the masses. Even having Coach Isaac on and just being
Mm,
being a part of the crew too, because we were all in this together, and so yeah, we really made like an awesome connection up there.
yeah, like with with the podcast as well, is like I encourage everyone to at least try it once because like this is actually one of the biggest. It's one of the biggest learning curves I've ever had to like deal with in terms of social media and all that stuff. But like like it's super nice to just like be able to just speak to people you want and like
Mhm,
learn from people you want to learn from.
mhm.
So
Yeah,
like
man.
if you make that, I will jump on immediately. I will be guest
Well,
one if you want.
so, dude, one of the things we talked about, because I'm gonna brag really quick. I I
Do it.
beat I beat me and I beat Jack in chess during our time in Seattle. And so I kind of dabble in the chess world a little bit. And we talked about having a podcast and playing chess on the podcast the next time I see Jack. So that's definitely up on the agenda board for me because I'm right now I'm it's America's one, UK zero. So
I'm not going to play because I suck.
yeah, so yes, I love puzzles, man. Chess is an awesome puzzle. Um, and that's how I see strength and conditioning actually. It's a big puzzle. Like you have an athlete, they have X, Y, and Z that they have to deal with, and you just have to put the right puzzle pieces together, give them the right workouts, the right programs, the right nutrition, and you fix the puzzle. And that's how I tend to go after it.
100%. Can you explain what sort of process you go through to figure out these puzzle pieces and athletes and clients that you have?
Yeah, so it really is just a big needs analysis. Every single person I work with, whether it's general population or with an athlete, I go through a needs analysis. Like, what are your goals? What sport are you doing? What energy systems are we working with? Um, what's the main movements that you're going to be going through? What are the most common injuries? Like those are all pieces of the puzzle that I want to know and want to find the answers to. So you go all through all these pieces, you make sure that they're in the right program for it. You make sure that the program has all the um, correct movements and exercises, and that you can first, like in chess, you have to foresee the future. Like you have to foresee how your exercises are going to progress from this phase to the next phase to the next phase. And like just being prepared for the future is a big piece to the puzzle. And like I said, just what are the most common injuries?
Mm,
Are you most likely to work with knee injuries or ankle injuries, or um, does this person have a history of back pain, and just finding the right puzzle pieces. So when I say puzzle pieces, finding the right movements to make sure that they're in a position to strengthen those movements. And that's how I go about it. So it's just like a big needs analysis and just making sure that it all fits together.
Yeah, that's actually something that we've never spoke about in this podcast. And like as strength coaches, you obviously do one for every athlete for every sport, but I don't think it's talked about as much in terms of how we apply it.
Mm.
What are some of like the ways and methods that you use? So, say this is your first sort of interaction with this client or athlete. What kind of questions and how would you lay out your needs analysis?
Yeah. So I'm meeting with an athlete. I talk to them. I'm like, "What's going on, man? I know you play this sport. How long have you been playing this sport? What's your end goal? Do you want to make it to college? Do you want to make it to your high school team? Do you want to just be healthier and move well?" So I ask them what their goals are. After after that, then I go straight into their health history. What happened to you in the past? Has there been any aches or pains with your joints? Any muscle groups that have been bothering you? Any any movements that you seem to find lacking whenever you play your sport? And then after that, then I go straight into what they need. So I look at what their sport is. I deem which what they need when it comes to, say, football. Are they in this specific energy system? They're going to be working in um, their PCR systems. They go straight to the aerobic system, anaerobic system, a lactic system, and this is where you're mostly going to be playing in. You're going to need to have these bursts of energy every down or every
Hmm.
every minute, and so when we train, we're going to practice that. When we condition, we're going to practice that. Um, and then once we talk about like their energy systems, then we go on to um, progressing from the general prep phase of what we want to do and just move them on to the next phase. And so just having that needs analysis is such a vital and important piece to every strength coach. Um, and I'm no, if a strength coach doesn't do a needs analysis, they don't know what they're doing. So, and that's I think that's the thing with a lot of youth sports, because a lot of strength coaches are moving on to universities, colleges, working with all these college level players. But when you move to like the youth, so like high school, middle school, all the teenagers, and other kids, like there's no needs analysis being done,
Mhm.
or there's no like health history um or like movement patterns that they're studying. They just give them a workout. um and I know because I've been through it back in high school, and so like my coach never did that for me, but I'm gonna make sure that I do it for the kids that I work with.
Yeah, I think it's important as well because at that age, kids should be in as many sports as possible.
Hmm.
I don't think kids should specialize from a very young age. I think they should be introduced to as much different stimuli
Hmm.
as possible because
Yeah.
that just makes a better athlete. If you can
Hmm.
run, jump, and do every other movement efficiently, you can play any sport. Like I'm
100%.
okay at most sports. Like one of the hardest sports I've played is badminton because like it's so fast, but you don't expect it to because you're throwing about a feather.
Yeah.
But it's so fast and nippy that you're just like having to like COD all the time and just like catch, lunge,
Yeah.
sort of hyperextend. Like it's just the movement variety in it is nuts. So for me, I always say do as many sports as possible. Even like
Hmm.
when you're growing up, just do as many as possible. Then later on, you can specialize in one.
Hmm. Yeah,
But
that's
I
the
think
thing
it's
with
up.
a lot of kids in America is that the parents are putting them into one sport and they're just like focusing on that one sport. And I'm like, maybe they should just take a break and go play a different sport over the summer, or in the winter they play a different sport. But the parents are just like, oh, we really want to focus on this one sport. We're gonna play this
Mm,
sport the whole year. I'm like, that might not be the best path for that child. He's gonna get burnt out or something like that. So,
100%. I think touching back on this point that you made, chest is actually quite intense, and it burns more calories than people actually think during a chess match.
oh, I believe it, man. I believe it. My head starts hurting. I start sweating.
Have you ever watched The Queen's Gambit on
I
Netflix?
did. I did watch the Queen's Gambit. It was great show. Great show. It's more about the lifestyle than it is chess. So if you don't know much about chess, you'll still love it.
Yeah. What are some of the things that you now look into when you're making your next moves?
Network. It's all about network and connections. Um, and so when I move to the next chapter in life, it's am I putting myself in an environment where I'm gonna thrive? Am I putting myself in an environment where the people I'm working with is going to be willing to join me in helping them get to where they want to be, and making sure that when I make the next move for myself, it's not a step backwards, but either a forward step or a lateral step.
Mm.
Um, so that's what I'm looking forward to whenever I
Yeah.
make the next move.
What would be your ideal next move?
Ideal next move would be getting into the school system. I really want to work with youth sports, like I said, and I think the best way to go about that is um, to go where the youth are, and that's high schools, middle schools, and just to have a base of where I'm able to train with the kids and help them grow, and hopefully we make a special team, special bond, and like just grow from there. And I
Yeah.
hope to see it in like the next 5 or 10 years. I hope to see one of them just be dominant in some sort of college sport or something like that. Um, and that's also let's go back to Coach Mack really quick. So one of the things that Coach Mack did for me was make phone calls
Mm.
and like my past and I love my past coaches that I work with, but they never did this for me. They Coach Mac actually took the time to make phone calls to different coaches and say, "Hey, I got this guy named Juan. He's he was in my program. He's a great coach, and I think he would be a good fit in your program." And like and so one of the things he did was call a high school here in Florida and say and do that exactly for me.
Nice.
Um, and when the opportunity came, it was because of Coach Mack, and so yeah, it would. And anyways, to go back to your point, like next move for me would be working in the school systems.
Yeah. How? What's that sort of led to with the high school?
So the thing with high schools are it's it's a very um protected sector
Mm.
of the of the school systems because you need clearance check, background check, you need certifications, you need all of these checklists to be checked off
Checklist.
to make sure um, before you get hired. And so I'm just checking off the boxes right now, making sure that I have all my papers aligned, and making sure I have all the certifications that they need to get to uh, where I need to be. One of the
Nice.
things that Isaac told me, because Isaac used to be a
Mm.
high school coach, right? Was just go out and volunteer. And so one of the things I've been doing personally is just emailing all the schools around me and offering my services and telling them, hey, I'm a strength coach. I work with Coach Mac. I work with all these athletes in the past. I have all this experience and knowledge to share. I have my master's degree, and I'm willing to share my knowledge and experiences with your school and your athletes. And so I've been doing that. Um, but it's a very strict line over here in Florida. So once I have everything
So just
aligned,
chipping
then
away.
yeah. Once everything's all in line, then I'm gonna go make my next move.
Yeah,
Um,
that's
but
exciting though.
mhm. Yeah, man. So I never ever thought that I would want to go back to high school or middle school. Once I graduated, I was like, "Yo, I'm out of here." But Coach Isaac really opened my eyes to it. He's his stories from our times in UW about how he's coaching his kids, and
Mm,
his experiences with coaching his track kids was like, oh man, I that's what I'm looking for. Like I'm looking for those experiences, um looking for that teamwork and camaraderie that he has with those high school athletes. And I'm like it really opened my eyes to the school. And then in addition to that, we did some field trips during our time at the University of Washington. So we went to O'Day High School in Seattle, and then we went to Archbishop. I believe it's
mm.
called Archbishop High School. Did you guys go to those high schools when you were there?
We only
No?
went.
Oh man.
The only place that we went S&C wise was the Olympic gym, which was just across the road. Um,
Oh,
to be fair, Coach Mark did encourage us to reach out to different teams around Seattle, but I don't actually think anyone did, apart from Nate,
okay.
but he was already working in gyms.
I see. Okay. Yeah, so one of the things that Coach Cook did for us was he scheduled meetings with the coaches at those high schools. And taking those trips over there and seeing what a coach does for his teams, and seeing what a day in the life is of a coach
Mm,
is was really a game changer, and it really opened my eyes to not to coaching the youth. And like there's more there's a lot more uh that needs to be done in the strength and conditioning field with working with just the kids growing up. And I'm
hmm
like, this could be an opportunity for me to do what I love doing, which is to educate and to bring about strength and conditioning to future athletes.
Yeah,
And so
yeah,
like Isaac and those two field trips, man, just it clicked. I'm
nailed
like,
it.
all right, let's do it.
What was it that sort of made you aware, like, this is where I need to be? Like, what was
It's
that initial?
it's it's those coaches talking to us, man. Like when we went to Archbishop, we spoke with the coach and what's his name? I forgot his name. I got it. It's in I got his contact in my phone. I text him every now and then. But like he's like one of the things he asked us was what do we want to do with our field with strength and conditioning? And I told him like I'm just here to educate. And he was like, you got to go to high school. You got
Mm,
to if you really want to set a foundation and basis for strength and conditioning for exercise in general, like this is where it is because this is where you learn um, how to coach. Like coaches aren't just going to throw you into the Division 1 schools at University of
mhm,
Washington. Like you got to work your way up. But if you want to be in charge and learn how to be a coach, a leader from the like right off the bat, dude, go to high school, and that's what he told me. And like I took that in and just and let it soak and let it sit there during my time at Washington. And when I came back to Florida, I'm like, all right, let's do it.
yeah. I think it's that early development as well. Like,
Hmm.
it's so crucial for the pathway of that athlete as well. And Back to our earlier points, like starting them young is great, but you need those coaches, those skilled coaches that can teach them at that age.
Yeah. Yeah, and then not everyone has the patience to be working with these kids, man. Like I know, I
100%.
know, I know a lot of coaches who were just didn't have the time to teach the college kids because they're
Mm,
even in Division 1, there's college kids who don't know how to squat. There's kids who don't know how to lunge, don't know how to hinge, and that's where the interns come in. And we have to start them off from scratch and say, hey, we got to move your body in a more safe and more efficient manner, and this is how you do it. And with you know how Coach Mac runs things, like it's go 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 go. And there's not really the time to sit there and teach these kids the proper movement patterns during the coaching session. So they need to have a good base, and that's where um, other strength coaches can come in and help you guys out.
100%. And it's all a collab. If you think about S&C, it's a collab. So
Hmm.
high school coaches are preparing their athletes for college. College
Hmm.
are preparing them for the pro or next level. So it's like
Hmm.
it's collaborating between stages. So like
Yeah.
if you start and I'm not quite sure how the school system works in America. Like in the UK, you've got primary school, you've got high school, and then you can either go college or university, and then pro, or whatever the next stage is for you. So,
Hmm.
like, say there's a really good strength and conditioning coach in high school, but that primary school coach is terrible. Those athletes that are coming up are going to have to relearn most of the things. And that's steeper than if a good coach was here, good coach, good coach. You can just sort of like pass everyone down and everyone's just like smooth sailing.
Yeah.
Doesn't always work, but ideally,
Yeah, there's just so many different schools, so many different kids. It's a vast area, and our field is growing, but there's a lot more kids out there. There's a lot more athletes out there than coaches, and so
I will also say, and I will die on this hill, PTs are not strength and conditioning coaches. I will die on
hey,
this hill. People call me PT sometimes, and I'm like,
dude,
it's your first
dude,
warning.
I say that all the time to my clients. I'm like, look, I'm not a PT, but I can get you moving in the right way. Like,
It's
but
frustrating.
that's the thing, man. There's a lot of positions now. They're looking for those like physios and just having that medical background with them. And it's like our field is there for a reason. And if they're
Mm,
not going to utilize this, then they're missing a piece of the puzzle.
100%. And like for me, it's more like, again, I don't know what's like there, but across here, you can become a personal trainer and like, oh, sorry, this is something else. PT in the UK means personal trainer. I know it means physical trainer in the US.
Oh,
I'm talking
yeah,
about
yeah. I was
personal
thinking physical
trainer.
therapist, man.
No, 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 no. So yeah, we're not personal trainers. That's what I mean.
Gotcha,
We're
gotcha.
like we're an S&C coach. So across here it works that you can become a personal trainer in like 2, 3 weekends.
Yeah.
So essentially, then you're able to work out in a gym and like PT people, and you
Hmm.
can charge whatever you want. But
Gotcha.
to
That
me,
makes
it's
more
like
sense.
strength and conditioning coaches. We do 4 years of school, and then we have to like do masters, PhD if we want to like
Certify,
really
yeah, and all
specify,
that.
and then we have to do our accreditations, then to be
Hmm.
called strength and conditioning coaches. So take
Yeah.
like 5, 6 years of education compared to a couple weekends. Then I'm getting called a personal trainer, and I'm just like,
Hmm.
no, no.
Now, there's a lot more that we have to offer, man.
Ooh. Yes, and that is the frustrating thing. Is like this industry is so fast paced, and there's so many people seeking out help in the gym nowadays that
Hmm.
it's just kind of getting like muddy. You don't know what people know, and it's like it's really
Hmm.
hard to find out if they're the right fit for you. So like I always tell people that are wanting coached, even if it's like not personally with me, I'm just like whoever you decide to go with, do your research on them. Like look at their
Hmm.
Instagram, go through their LinkedIn, go through their website, anything that you can find your like get your hands on, look at it and think, does this person have what I need? And it another point that I really like to nail down is it's not important what they look like. Like you can like some of the best S&C coaches aren't in the best of shapes, but their knowledge is solid.
Hmm.
Like Coach Mac doesn't look like the fittest person, but I've seen that man squat. Like
He's a strong dude.
he damn nearly had all the plates on his bar. I was like, God damn. Like save some plates for us.
Yeah, man, we're strength and conditioning. We're not bodybuilders over here. So that's the main difference.
100%.
We know the science behind a lot of things, and like what we have to offer with our education, our research, our experiences. Like it's it's different from all the other aspects of the fitness world.
100%. So this is a question that I've sort of just thought of. When if you and when you decide to do your PhD, what kind of research would you partake in? Like what would you like to
Yeah,
look
so
into?
that's a big question and a big reason why I'm not in school right now. You got to figure that out first because I don't want to spend years of my life studying something that I'm not like truly about. But when I did go get my master's degree, I did write a thesis on psychosocial factors. And
Mm,
what I studied was self-efficacy, enjoyment, stress, depression. And granted, this was because it was during COVID. So I wrote this during COVID. And like
mm,
there's lockdowns, limitations to the gym. We can't really work with athletes. When I was doing my S&C internship during COVID, it was only 10 people allowed in the weight room at a time, so teams had to be split up.
mm.
Yeah, so like there'd be like six athletes would come into the gym, um, coach, an athletic trainer, intern, plus the six. So that's like nine people in the gym at
Uh,
a time, social distance and all that. But anyways, what I researched was psychosocial factors in terms of self-efficacy. So how willing is a person going to what's their willpower and how can they do it on their own? Can they work out on their own? Do they have the inner drive, motivation to do it? Their enjoyment, um, their stress and their depression. And so maybe if I do a PhD, it would be a lot more focused on like the cognitive aspects of sports,
mm,
whether that be mental health or like life after sports, because there's a lot of athletes who, you know, like, not everyone's gonna make it to the big leagues. Let's be honest. It's a small percentage. For sure, for sure, Michael Penix is gonna make it to the big leagues. But like,
it's he's going up this year, I think.
yeah, yeah, he's Heisman candidate, man. He's gonna win it. I believe it. Um, but with the other athletes, like, what are they gonna do after college? Like, are you gonna
Hmm.
go work in the sports field? Are you gonna go or gonna go get like a 9 to 5 job? And that from training all day to working all day is gonna be a big difference and big hit to your
100%
to your mental. And
mental.
so that's probably like one of the things I want to focus on. But again, like I want to make sure that when I do go to school, it's with the right professors, it's with the topic that I really want to focus on. and a topic that everyone else will enjoy. Because when I do share information, it's I hope it'll be interesting for everyone else.
Yeah. So how important is it for you to look at the psychological aspects during S&C?
It's very important. It's that effort and drive that we talked about earlier. Like if a guy's just going through the motions and there's no drive and motivation there, there's no self-efficacy there, there's no enjoyment there, like your ceiling for how good you
Mm,
can be is limited. Like there's a guy who loves the game, his ceiling's gonna be here. There's a guy who's doesn't love the game, his ceiling like is right there. And like
it's that growth
if we can
mindset.
pick that out, yeah, yeah, yeah. If we can pick that out and know like this guy loves it, he has the potential, like then go get him. Or this guy's not in it, like maybe we're wasting some time here and we could put someone else there. Or maybe this guy needs some help and we can help him out, maybe improve him just a little bit, and guide him in the right direction. And so there's just many avenues to go off
Mm,
from there, from the mental aspect. Um, and it's a new thing, not a lot of athletes talk about it. It's kind of taboo to talk about your feelings and say, hey, I'm not feeling so well, or you know, feeling a little down right now. Like but it definitely plays a big factor in terms of performance.
100%. The last podcast that I posted with Seichin, he actually talked about something that I found really interesting, and I've been like going over it, but something as little as a fist bump can tell you how your athlete's doing. And
Yeah,
like that to me, I was just like, yeah, like sometimes I get like those, hey coach, and I'm just like,
dude,
so I
I
always
believe it, man.
follow up with
I
question.
believe it. Like
Yeah,
that effort, you can see straight from that fist bump, from that high five.
100%. And I think like one of the biggest things that I do is like, as soon as the athletes come in, how are you doing? How did you sleep? Did you eat much? How are you feeling? And like
Hmm.
that just like lets me know how that session is going to go and what I can do to actually still get that intent off them.
Hmm. Yeah, it's a good baseline measure right there.
100%. 100%. And like that's to me, I think that's what coaching is about. Is like to your point, like not everyone's going to make it. So like, what are you going to do to sort of help them get to the next stage, whatever the next stage is? Because like
Hmm.
we're probably more with them more than the sports coach. So like,
Hmm.
what can we do to sort of impact them more than just their sporting career?
Yeah, man. Like that relationship it goes beyond the weightlifting room, man. The bonds you make during your time with each individual is very impactful and can
Mm,
really can really help bridge the gap from a good day to a bad day, from a bad day to a
100%.
good day, you know. And and yeah, we definitely got to add that into the program.
100%. So thank you so much for coming on. It's a pleasure to finally meet you and sort of get to chat about what SSC is to you.
Yeah.
Can you let everyone know where to find you and how to get in contact with you?
Yeah, guys. So thanks, Coach Manny, for having me on. I know we've been talking about this for a long time. We finally got on. You can find me on Instagram at jmayo_strength. I don't use it as much, but I want to be like Coach Beachu when I grow up. So and have my Instagram just like his. And the more I learn, the more I want to share. So hopefully there it is. um, and like like I said, the more I learn, the more I want to share. So we'll definitely get back on the pod and talk to Coach Manny, talk on the PA chalk up just one more time.
Nice. I want to have a podcast episode with you Isaac and Jack.
Oh man,
I
that's
think
gonna
that
be a
would be a
wild
dope
time.
one.
That's gonna be a wild time. Like,
I
oh
think
man.
because I never got to experience use lot, I think it's going to be good to so I can like sort of comprehend the dynamics.
First of all, I'm just gonna say that they're gonna talk a lot of smack about me. So, but well, that's a good teaser for the next episode.
Nice, nice. No, thank you so much for hopping on. Um, obviously check him out at jmayo_strength. Ask him any development questions as well. Like that's something that I've sort of wanted to know. I kind of want to be an all-rounded coach, and like the youth is something that I still need to learn a lot about.
Yeah, man, we're here for the kids, man. We do for the kids.
100%. That's the stepping stone for every athlete. They start as a kid and then build up.
All right, thanks, Coach Manny.
Cheers. Thank you.